webinar. Today's topic is staying safe during the holiday season. My name is Rich Rosalia. I will be your moderator for today's session. Before we dive into this content, just a couple of quick housekeeping items to remember. The webinar will last no more than 45 minutes. That includes time at the end for questions and answers. Everyone's microphones are on mute right now, so if you have questions or comments throughout the presentation, just use the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. Today's session is being recorded, and we will upload a copy of the recording to the Bridgepoint Technologies website for future reference. Today's topic is all about holiday security. So we're going to discuss cybersecurity threats and other scams that typically increase during the holiday season. Our goal is to help you be able to spot the red flags and to share knowledge and tools with your coworkers and your family that are going to help people protect their personal information and online accounts. We're very fortunate to have Bob Furman, our Director of Service Delivery, who is an expert in this field, and he will lead us through today's discussion. So without further ado, let me introduce Bob, and thank you once again for being here with us today.
Well, thanks, Rich, and thanks everybody for carving out some time to join this. Hopefully you find it informative and somewhat entertaining. Since I do have some videos as part of my presentation, I want to make sure that the sound is working. So, Rich, if you can tell me if you do hear this.
Yes, I hear it.
Okay. So I'll get rid of that. Make sure my windows are in the right place. All right. And there will be Q&A at the end. You can post into the chat. So if you can hold your questions, or just you can type them into the Q&A, and Violet from our team will watch those, and I'll cover them at the end. If you have any questions of anything I come up with, or even question on your own, please let me know. So we have a number of clients, various industries, but every year we do see an uptick. Not only are there more attacks that come in, they change their tactics, and they do this throughout the year. Tax filing season, you might see QuickBooks login, IRS logins, things, TurboTax, things like that. But during the holidays, we see specific topics that they'll touch on, trying to take advantage of people's giving spirit. The still number one attack all year round, but even during the holidays, is what we call phishing. Don't know, I haven't ever looked up the etymology of phishing, why they call it that, but basically it is like phishing. You get an email, they may spoof your boss, which would be, a phishing, pretending to be a VIP. But they may also just say, I'm Amazon, click here for a gift card to use for your holiday shopping. Or there's been a purchase for gifts on your eBay account. Click here to challenge the amount charged to your credit card. So basically, the things I say that you get what I call your spidey senses, anything with a sense of urgency, you have to act now, or the charges will never be credited, or your password's been breached, you must contact us by phone, because they try to get you out of email, because we have security systems that help, filter out emails. So they'll do text messages to your phone, because most cell phones don't have any layers of protection on it. So they're trying to get people out. But anything with a sense of urgency, you should do what I call hesitate and evaluate. What that means is don't feel pressured. 5 minutes isn't going to change the outcome if it's legitimate. And you don't want to be rash on clicking a link. And then, the evaluate is looking at the email address of the sender. Does it seem to match? If it says it's an Amazon breach and it's coming from a Gmail account, it's a phishing attempt. So there are little things you can do, like look up. You'll hear me say that phrase a few times. You look up at the email address, or look up at the website address. One tactic of these phishing emails, a very common one, is they will redirect you to a website once you click the link in an email, and they will reproduce a familiar looking login, be it Amazon, a popular bank, or the big one would be Microsoft or Google. It's very easy for hackers to create those logins. It will look and feel just like one you've seen legitimately for work or personal. But if you look at the address bar, you'll notice it doesn't say Microsoft.com or Office.com or any of the legitimate Microsoft sites. So you need to be very careful with that. And it's better, even if you do get something that still makes you think it's legit, but you're on the fence, don't click the link in the email, go to your web browser on a different device or that device if you don't feel you've been hacked, and just manually go find that login, be it Amazon or your bank or a bookmark that you've saved in your browser. That's safer and less stressful for anybody if you go to it manually. This short video is going to talk about phishing and how you can try to identify them. Let me get my mouse to cooperate.
Spotting and reporting phishing. In nearly 90% of all organizations, at least one employee has clicked a phishing email. Not surprisingly, more than 90% of malware received by companies is through phishing emails. Knowing how to spot phishing emails is vitally important to your company's information security. The key is being aware of red flags that may be present in an email. A red flag is a sign that an email is possibly a phishing attack. It's important to know that phishing emails often include more than one red flag. Let's explore an email inbox that is full of red flags. The first email appears to have been sent by Amazon. The cybercriminal is impersonating a legitimate brand in an attempt to gain the recipient's trust. However, the letter O in Amazon has been replaced with the number 0. And the subject conveys an urgent, even threatening situation. Both techniques are red flags, indicating a phishing attempt. The second email includes numerous red flags. Take a look at the To field. The first address belongs to an employee at the Example Biz company, but the email was sent to recipients outside of the Example Biz organization, which is suspicious. The sender's address includes an incorrect spelling of the word support, and the subject is somewhat intriguing. Both are signs the email is possibly a phishing email. The third email appears to be sent by the legitimate brand Dropbox. However, the letter O in the box is missing. The subject is unexpected and enticing, but also suspicious. Notice that the email was received at the unusual time of 2:35 a.m. All of these are red flags. Now we'll examine the last email. We see it was sent using the Gmail consumer email service. The subject indicates that payroll is delayed. This will most likely elicit an emotional response from the recipient. The cybercriminal hopes the response entices the recipient to interact with the email. Based on the red flags spotted so far, the attachment is suspicious as well. Be cautious of any email attachments that are zip files, executable files, or password protected.
Just was informed I've been sharing my wrong screen, so I'm going to fix that. I need screen 3. Share sound. That should be better. Sorry about that. So the other things we see by phishing, phone calls, text messages, is fake charities. So it's a attempt again to play on people's giving moods, right? People are spending money, they're just in a good mood. So scammers do an uptick in phone calls. A lot of them are phone calls. Some will be phishing emails or emails that state, not Red Cross, but Cross Red or whatever. They'll try to make it sound like one you recognize, or maybe one that sounds legitimate. Housing funding for, retired veterans or something. So what you're supposed to do is go out and do your own research, and try to get reviews on them to make sure they're legit. For those that joined earlier, you saw me mess around with Snapchat as a free app on a cell phone where you can use the camera and it puts a filter on you. I was doing Santa Claus from a Coca-Cola advertisement, but AI is being used more and more by hackers too. The last webinar we did was how AI is being used by good guys and AI is being used by bad guys, and they're trying to keep up with each other and at least be on a level playing field. But AI deepfakes, I can give you an example here. This is what we call a deepfake from AI, made on my cell phone with a free app called Snapchat. I am not Santa Claus. Right. And I don't have a mustache and beard, as you can clearly see. So deepfakes are being used too. So one company got on a Zoom meeting with what he thought were colleagues. He could see their videos and hear their voice like mine, and everybody recognized everybody. And the CFO out of Tokyo told the financial guy in Hong Kong to wire 22 million for a merger and acquisition out of London, which that person did, and found out later that the person that wired the money was the only real person in the meeting. Everybody else was a deep fake. It's insane. That person probably spent some time crafting that and getting everybody into that meeting, or at least the person, but it was worth his time, I would think, for $22 million that just poof was gone in milliseconds. This video is going to talk a little more about, I took it from a news broadcast, on fake charities and political groups, right? Politics is real big. But again, hackers are going to do topical. So all these tips are going to carry through tax season, next election cycle, etc.
The war and refugees in Ukraine, tornadoes leaving folks homeless in the Triad or somewhere else. The latest Supreme Court decision on abortion rights. Scammers are using all of these things as an opportunity to get your money by posing as a fake charity or a fake political group.
The sad thing about charity scams and imposters is that they're not only taking your money, they're taking money away from really good charities that are out. Stop and don't make a quick decision. That is the first thing a scammer wants to do. They want to play on your philanthropic heart to help people. We all want to help people. Most people give without researching.
All right, so that's rule number one. You got to research. Before you give, Google the name of the charity. Check it against sites that rate charities like give.org, Charity Navigator, even the North Carolina Secretary of State charity site. Scammers try and trick you by giving their fake charity a name that sounds like or is similar to other real charities. And scammers are going to make it easy for you by taking donations by cash, gift card, wire transfer, or Cash App.
Don't give cash and don't give gift cards. But if you do decide to make a charitable donation, do it with a credit card, because then that gives you some power that if, an hour later you go, you can call your credit card company and report that as a potential fraudulent charge, and then they will do the research and find out, and they can stop that charge from going through.
Charity scams, I got to tell you, they're big business. In 2020, Americans gave $471 billion to charities. Scammers just see that as an open door to money.
So again, you heard all the things I was saying. Hesitate and evaluate. Don't be in a hurry. Validate it so that you don't accidentally give away your hard-earned money to a wrong charity. So Yelp, is out there for some charities. There are the big ones like Give. Forget the name of the website now, but we can provide that later. But do your own research. Don't click links and emails for somebody that comes into you. And phone calls there's more and more phone calls because they know people are getting better at email. There's companies like Bridgepoint Technologies that apply email security platforms to prevent most of them, not all, but to get to a user's inbox. So they are pivoting to phone calls. A lot of the call centers are overseas. So you would hear people with accents, and Microsoft absolutely has a support center in multiple countries around the world. So I'm not saying an accent alone means it's not legitimate, but it means you should at least spend more time validating it. But now, as you heard with AI, they can even use AI voice changers. They could even have English as their third language, not only their second language. They can type in their native language into an AI engine, and it will speak it back in perfect English and even correct the grammar. So even phone calls anymore are tough. You're going to hear me talk about even code words for family to identify each other because of AI and fake voices. So again, do your research. Do a review. And even for legitimate charities, I'll say this as an aside, some take more of your dollar for admin costs than others. That's something I learned many years ago, that somebody taught me that. So if you research them on that one website, it'll say 82 cents of every dollar goes to admin costs, which means marketing, legal, websites, whatever. Some might take 20 cents for admin costs, something to consider when you're donating your money. Gift cards are popular for hackers because and it's hard for me, but I've been in IT and cybersecurity for 30 years, but people fall for this, and it just stuns me that they stay on the phone. The hacker will instruct them to stay on the phone as they drive to target. And people do this. Usually it's elderly because they're not as familiar with what's going on maybe. And that's why take this information, by the way, share it with your neighbors and your grandparents over the holidays. Anybody asking for a gift card, you should really big hesitation on that. And it's a very popular one. So you go buy 3 3 $500 gift cards, and then they tell you to sit in the car, scratch off the code, and read them the code over the phone, and you know what they're doing on the other end in India or wherever they're at. They're activating that card and taking that money. So this video is going to talk a little more in depth on that.
'Tis the season for gift buying, and tonight the Federal Trade Commission warns it's also the season for a surge in gift card scams. In just the first 9 months of this year, the FTC reports nearly 40,000 people were scammed, losing $148 million, almost surely an undercount. Here's how it works. Scammers email or call unsuspecting victims, posing as a love interest, company representative, even a government agent, telling the victim they owe money and must pay now, or they'll be arrested or their bank accounts frozen. The scammer tells the victims to buy gift cards at a local store, then read the card number to the scammer over the phone. Target gift cards were the most preferred by scammers. $2,500 the median amount lost by consumers. Then gift cards from Google Play, Apple, eBay, and Walmart.
Gift cards are for gifts. They're not for making payments. So if someone approaches a consumer saying that they need to make a payment using a gift card, it's a scam.
In Idaho, Julia Hillary got an email claiming there was a fraudulent charge on her Amazon account and providing a number to call back. When she did, the scammer told her to stay on the phone, go to the store, and buy a $500 gift card to fix the problem. Thankfully, the local store clerk recognized the scam and refused to sell her the card.
I think she noticed I was on the phone, had the phone up to my ear. I think she noticed that I was probably looking a little panicked. She knew the signs and she caught on right away.
The red flags, say fraud experts, unsolicited calls or emails saying you owe money. If anyone tells you to buy gift cards and read back the numbers, it's a scam. Social Security and the IRS will never call asking for personal information or money. Scammers target gift cards because they're not traceable. Once they're used, they're gone, and getting your money back is nearly impossible.
Hey, Bob.
Yes.
I just want to jump in real quickly. Something else that I've seen recently on the news about this is because of the example that lady shared where she went up to the counter and the clerk could tell something was off. Now they're instructing elderly people to go to like a local convenience store where there's a cryptocurrency ATM machine.
Yeah, Bitcoin.
Then they don't have to interact with the person at the counter. So they go right up to the machine and they purchase a certain amount of Bitcoin and give the code to the person on the other phone, and it's gone.
Yeah, and that's a good example of what we talk about in the cyber world about we're chasing. We try to be proactive, but those guys pivot. As soon as you close a door, they'll find another avenue. That's similar to where I mentioned earlier, getting you out of email, texting a cell phone, making a phone call to a personal cell phone, because you can't stop when it's a human to human. Right. Other than this training, which is very important. No matter, we have a great, what we call an IT stack of cybersecurity to lock down environments. I can't stop a user from answering their personal cell phone and giving away a password. And this happened to one of our customers. MBA, JD, multi-credentialed, very smart engineer type person, got a phone call and gave away their eBay password on phone call. And when that happens, you're going to hear me talk about it. You got to move as quick as you can. Once you realize you did what I call that whoopsie moment, you got to move very quickly. But yeah, Rich, that's what they do. You know, they find another avenue. It's very unfortunate. So this is part of that zero trust mentality. So there's zero trust. We have a zero trust agent that does cyber on a, digital zero trust, but zero trust should really expand to phone calls, text messaging, a person physically following you through a card reader, a kiosk, or a spinny thing, a CTA or whatnot. Don't trust anybody. Oh, I forgot my card today. Can you let me in the building? No, I'm sorry. Policy. I can get terminated if they catch me on that camera right there. I can't let you tailgate me through this turnstile. So you can't trust anything to the point where it may be awkward. You really need to do that because, again, the sophistication and the different avenues these folks find to try to take your money. And by the way, it's not always money. Sometimes they want to get into your accounts so they can use your account to try to go attack other people and get their accounts. And then eventually maybe they'll try to get your money. So it isn't just if they're asking for a credit card, it's redirecting you to that login form that looks legit, trying to get a social security number out of you or something else. because they'll use that personal information to take over your accounts. I have a friend, I'm in the west suburbs of Chicago. His Facebook got taken over, which is personal Facebook, but he's a realtor. He used it for business too. And it got taken over and it just, destroyed him. He had to go, Facebook wouldn't let him back in. They're like, I don't know, how can I validate who you are? They just shut down the account and he had to start up a whole new one and rebuild his network. So they move quick. They will leapfrog to other accounts. So you're going to hear me talk about, strong authentication for MFA and unique passwords. Do not use Sunflower One on LinkedIn, Sunflower One at Amazon Prime, Sunflower One for your Gmail, Sunflower One for your work email. That's a skeleton key password. We know people do that, and it is absolutely a no-no. Real quick, here's why. LinkedIn and other major platforms had data breaches. LinkedIn had an engineer for LinkedIn with pretty high level admin to their back platform and all the account information. He got tricked by a phishing email. He clicked a link. He let somebody into the LinkedIn network. The hacker used that platform to then go get all the information they could out of the database for LinkedIn. So if you're on LinkedIn, your first name, last name, the email attached to it. I forget if that one included a password. For this story, we're going to pretend it included your password on LinkedIn. So if you had Sunflower One, the hackers then take all that information, and they're very smart people with programs. They do scripting. They will take your login and password and they will try Amazon Prime, banks, your work email. They'll start social engineering to see who you are, what company you're at. They'll try to access your work email. They can move very quickly with the programs and tools they have at their disposal. And again, AI. So don't use the same password. You didn't necessarily do anything wrong because LinkedIn had the breach. But what you did do wrong is use that skeleton password. I'm not going to justify this next part to say you can ignore what I just said, but if you have multi-factor authentication, that means, and you've probably seen it with online banking, even if somebody got your password from LinkedIn and tried to log into it, the hacker would get a prompt that says, please enter your code from your personal or work cell phone. Most of the time, the hackers will move on, because that's like having Dobermans and automatic lights and alarms in your yard. They're not going to rob your house. They're going to go look for the next softest target down the street. So having MFA, multi-factor authentication, or 2FA, they call them different things, you absolutely need to turn that on. You Gmail, Amazon, your work email, your personal email, Google it, like MFA, Amazon Prime, and one of the top 2 hits, it'll walk you through how to do that. I always say on a Saturday or Sunday, sit down with a coffee, a beer, a wine, whatever your drink of choice is, and take a half hour to lock down all your accounts with MFA. Regular updates, that means if most people are on Windows, but even on Mac, you want to make sure that updates from the manufacturer, in this case, we'll talk Microsoft, that is the default is automatic updates. You want to make sure they're turned on. I would say, check it now, but then every month you should still manually go into Start, Settings, Windows Update, check for updates, install, reboot if it prompts you to. Manually kick that off once a month just to make sure there's not a glitch in the matrix and that your machine stopped getting automatic updates. That's very important, because what happens is Microsoft or somebody out in the white hat hacker will find a 0-day vulnerability in the Windows operating system. They will inform Microsoft, because they get bounties. Sometimes they'll give you $20,000 or something if you find a glitch in their system. Microsoft engineers will figure out how to patch that open door, and then they push it out in the next update. So that's why it's important to get updates. So secure transactions, people in the old days, 20 years ago, if you were on a website and you saw that little lock symbol to the far left in the address bar of www.google.com, it meant you were on HTTPS, which meant secure. But really, these days, it doesn't mean much, other than the hackers spend a little more money and time to put what's called a secure socket layer certificate on it, an SSL cert. It does not mean it's secure. It just means as you give the hacker your password, it's encrypted from your computer out the internet to the hacker in, Ukraine or wherever they're at. So you can't trust that anymore. That it means you're on a legitimate site just because you see that lock. The other thing is you don't want to be using what we call public Wi-Fi. I don't mean to pick on Starbucks, but it's just one that everybody uses. So if you go into Starbucks and they got free Wi-Fi, I strongly recommend against that, because there's something called a man-in-the-middle attack. And this is just a quick diagram of it. If there was not a man in the middle, you would be the victim laptop in a Starbucks. You would connect to their Wi-Fi. We'll call it that green check mark in the middle as a physical wireless access point in the Starbucks behind the counter. And then you go off to a web server on the internet. with a man in the middle. Hopefully this will show up okay, because this is what this is. It's called a pineapple with little antennas on it. I would program this device in my backpack in a Starbucks, and I would call it Starbucks. If I'm sitting closer to your laptop than you are to the wireless access point, you're going to connect to my man in the middle device, thinking you're connecting to Starbucks. I then pass you on to the web server / the internet. So as this diagram depicts, every piece of data you send from your computer, I'm in the middle. I'm sniffing it. I'm grabbing all that data. I can take a cookie injection and take over your Facebook if you log into Facebook. If you hit any website with a plain text that you type in your password, I'm going to capture that. You absolutely should not, personal or corporate devices, you should not be connecting to public Wi-Fi unless you're using a VPN, virtual private network client, because then that encrypts your data. So even if there is a man in the middle, because it could still happen, but they're not going to see anything plain text. The cookie injection, it's going to be all gobbledygook. They're not going to know it's a cookie. But hotels, convention centers, Starbucks, Dunkin' Donuts, wherever you go, I do not recommend using public Wi-Fi anymore. If you have to, it'd be better to use the hotspot on your cell phone if you have a data package with your carrier. That's more trustworthy. Now we get beyond just the digital and the email and the texting. We already talked about phone calls, that's physical. But physical is becoming more important too. So shoulder surfing is exactly that. You're on your laptop with your screen up, or you're on your cell phone, and you pull your cell phone out. And I've seen this happen at sporting events or other large venues, basketball games, concerts, and somebody pulls out their phone with 15,000 people around them and they type their PIN in. So at least the 6 shoulder surfers see it. But the other thing that I know happens now too, there are cameras everywhere, and they are high definition cameras. And when they record it, they don't even have to do it then. They can go back and play back the recording and zoom in. They're doing this in NFL football stadiums now, where you can put your seat number in and they'll take a video and they will zoom in to find you. So the technology is rapidly increasing on video and AI on top of that video. So be careful when you're typing your password on a keyboard. Some people that are smarter, I'll see them bend their laptop screen down as they type it, but they're recording your keys, and they can play back the video in slow motion to try to figure out your password. Again, why you need MFA on everything. So family verification, my brother had a scary story where he got a call. It started off saying they were an officer and that his college teenage daughter had been in a car accident, but she was okay. And then it quickly manipulated into, I've kidnapped your daughter and you're going to send me Bitcoin. Do not hang up this phone call. This is, unfortunately, I've heard more and more of these types of stories, or even somebody that will either use their own voice or an AI voice to sound younger and call an elderly person and say, hey, grandma, it's Steve. And how does this person know to say Steve? Because grandma's got a Facebook. They will go social engineer attacks as well to increase the likelihood of tricking someone. Some hackers are lazy and they just send out, hey, click here, right? But some will actually go, I'm going to target people. I'm going to figure out more to get a higher click rate, if you want to call it that. And they will figure out that this woman has a grandson called Steve because she talked about it on Facebook. So they call up and say, hi, I'm Steve. I'm in trouble. I need money. So family verification would be a code. I'll use Sunflower One again. Grandma would be like, oh my gosh, are you okay physically? Yes, I'm just in trouble with the police. I gotta get bond or something. Give me the password. Grandma just was a hero, right? She just stopped it in its tracks. They'll be like, what password, right? Because they don't know Sunflower One. So I do like that. It's a simple thing to do. It might sound silly, but consider that at Thanksgiving and the upcoming holidays when you're around family, only family, maybe very, very close friends, but you maybe teach your family to have a password in those cases, because they are getting out of email and going to those phone calls. So it's another way. And even in an email, it could be they took over your grandson's account, right? Because they did something. They got click happy and they let a hacker take over their email. So keep that in mind too. Hackers, when they like getting legitimate emails, especially at companies, because they won't get blocked by spam filters. It's coming from, ABC.com, and it's a legitimate company. So Steve's account could have got hacked. So she could respond with an email, what's the secret password? And as long as it's not in the email chain that the hacker could go look for it, she's going to prevent herself from getting scammed. Physical skimming devices. You're going to see a clip on it to help explain it, but if there is video, then there's video on me in my local Citibank when I go in. It looks like I'm trying to rip that thing out of the wall. Before I put my card in to make a transaction, I'm physically grabbing that credit card slot and trying to pull on it. If there's a tap area, I'm making sure there's not a hardware piece floating over top of it, because it's called a skimming device. This one's on a gas pump. Notice the first time it didn't even pop. You had to go back a second time. So with technology today, hackers can 3D print or otherwise manufacture it to the mold, and then they put that little computer chip on the back of it that's similar to a man in the middle. So anybody that comes up for that week and dips their credit card into that slot, the chip inside that little external piece is capturing the credit card, and then it also is being captured legitimately by the gas pump itself. So I physically grab those things every time now, since I saw these becoming more popular. And they're even in not just gas pumps. They can even be in convenience marts, Targets, Jewel, Mariano's, wherever you go, where they might have more of a look like this. But even putting these side by side, they're trying to give you hints as to identify it, but physically, you just see if you can lift it off. And, the clerk might look at you like you're crazy, and you can tell them, hey, I'm just making sure you don't have a skimmer. Unfortunately, some convenience marts in the United States, I don't know the geographic location, so I don't want to say it's in Chicago yet, but it could be. Unfortunately, convenient mart employees are participating in this now, because they sit there 24 hours a day, and they know each other. They put skimmers in, they grab all the credit card information, and they go on what's called the dark web, and they sell the credit card numbers to other people. So I say physically evaluate it, look at it, give it a slight tug to see if there's a skimmer on top of it. Tapping is a little better because they're looking for card swipes. The tapping's harder to do. So if the tap is an option, I would recommend using tap. The other things you can do to help, limit damage if they do get anywhere, or not let them, because for corporate attacks, it's 6 months is the average time that will elapse before they find out that there's a hacker in the system. So they've been in there for 6 months snooping, looking for passwords, looking for financial information. So you really got to look for anomalies. So if you suddenly get sent like your email, if the hacker's really poor at what they're doing, you're going to see a bunch of emails going out in your sent items folder that you didn't send. That means your account's been taken over, and they're using your email account to send out spam and hacks to your friends and people in your contacts. So look at your sent items. If it seems like you're not getting emails, one of the other things hackers do, if they get into your email account, they create rules that say any new email, delete it. So it'll touch your inbox, the rule will hit it and delete it a millisecond later. And if you're not staring at it, it's going to be your deleted items. So you should also look for rules that were created. Outlook's the big one. You can Google it. How do I review rules in Outlook? Because they will create rules to automatically delete emails, so that when grandma responds, hey, did you really send me this email? It's kind of an odd email from you asking for money. Grandma responds, it just deletes her response from your inbox to deleted, or moves it to a subfolder somewhere and buries it. So also look at your checking account, credit card charges, make sure it's legit. Sometimes when hackers purchase, like in the example I said earlier, Convenience Mart captures the credit cards, they sell it out to the dark web. The dark web person's going to say, well, I want to make sure it's legit and see if I bought anything of value. They'll put like a $7 charge on the credit card, and they sit back and wait and see if anything happens. So if they ordered a $7 item from Amazon and it shows up at their post office box or whatever it is they do with that charge, then they're going to come back and slam it with thousands of dollars, because they know that it's not being monitored and the credit card information they purchased is good. So monitor your accounts, and not just big ones. Don't just go look for like $1,000 transaction. They will start with $7.11 or something. You can also set up, like I have on mine, your credit card. Every time I make a charge, I get a pop on my cell phone. It pops up. I love that. I think that's a great thing to have. If that's an option, I would research it for your credit cards to say, I want an email and or a push message to my phone saying, your McDonald's charge of $12 has just been accepted. So because you have to move quick. If somebody gets in, you have to get in quick. I was working late, 2 a.m., and I got your McDonald's charge has been in Ontario, Canada, has been approved. Whoops, somebody's got my credit card. I immediately called my bank. They're 24 hours, and they shut down the card right away. So it helped me having bigger arguments with my credit card company. Credit reports usually you can get for free, I think, from some services, the big three. So see if you can register for credit reports. I get emails, once a month that say your credit hasn't changed. But what you're going to be looking for is a new small business loan was just approved and applied, and it's appearing on your credit report. You didn't do that, right? So you can get alerts that will let you know if a new credit card has been opened or other accounts. So credit report monitoring is also important. And again, that last one is very important. It's high tech. It's a matter of milliseconds or less. You have to move as quick as you can to try to get back into your account, to change your passwords, turn on MFA because it wasn't on. And then if they did use your email to email people, you want to try to get a list of everybody they contacted, because then I would recommend, to be fair to them, you email them or call them if it's not a lot of people and say, don't click the link in the email I just sent you, I got hacked. Because if you don't warn the people that got it, it's geometric, right? It's just going to go through their accounts and then all their contacts will get hit. So it is important. I know it's embarrassing sometimes, but it is important to share that information. So if you want to screenshot this or, take a note on it, these are some resources that I find, you may want to do it. What I like about crowdsourcing, I'll call it crowdsourcing information that you received, even if you didn't get tricked by it, right? So let's say you clearly identified it based on this, or you did on your own logic that it was a phishing email. You can report if they're coming out of Gmail. Gmail actually has a page where you can report email abuse, and allegedly Google's team will go review it and lock down that account so they can't keep using it, because Gmail accounts are free. Hackers spin up a new email all the time because they can script it again and they can get a new email. So they're not on a blacklist. So this is kind of nice if you have the time to report it, because you're helping the community at large. Because if they suddenly get 50 people reporting one email, it's more likely that will more quickly get analyzed and blocked, right? Outside of that, you can go to the BBB scam tracker and report it there. FBI has a place, and then FCC can do too, about like phone calls and stuff. You can go register incoming phone calls that were clearly hacks. You could report the phone number. Another thing I'll mention here about phone numbers, I get them all the time. The hackers overseas can use a 312 area code, a 224 area code, a 404 area code, Atlanta, whatever. They can easily get a digital phone service with any area code they want. So just because it's coming local doesn't mean it's legitimate. When I'm not busy, I do have fun with them. The one trick I learned to do is, so where are you calling from, while I look up my gift cards that you want me to buy? Where are you calling from, person? And they're like, oh, I'm calling from Microsoft in Seattle. I go, oh, what time of the day is it there? And they usually go, because they're clearly not in Seattle. So there's little tricks you can do to throw them off their script and confirm that it is indeed a hacker. But again, these are some links you can use. The top one, by the way, is nice. I like that SonicWall put that out there for free. It actually is a lowbrow test that's kind of, you go through it to see if you could identify it as a phishing email. Bridgepoint does have other mechanisms. We provide online 24-hour available training at the employee's discretion and speed, similar to the video I showed you earlier identifying phishing. They're short videos, and we can create a campaign, and that's why we talk about sessions like this. You can't overlook training. It's so important, because again, the phone calls, and they're pivoting out of emails to text, and now text to actual phone calls. That completes my presentation. And Rich, I don't know if there's any questions that came in. You're muted if you're not aware.
No, thanks, Bob. Yeah, sorry, a question just came in, so I was just getting ready to reply to it. So I'll just bring that one up first. From a PII, personal information safety perspective, is it still best to limit the use of debit cards if possible, since credit cards often offer a more robust and responsive protection against fraud?
Yeah, I mean, that's the important thing, understanding, like similar to what does your corporation's cybersecurity insurance rider cover? You should know those things. I mean, yes, as the one gentleman in that snippet I shared was, you're better protected with a credit card from a reputable bank or issuing card, because you get I forget the amount of changes, but you can have like $500 a charge, $5,000 a charge, or unlimited for as long as you report it within a certain window. And again, that's another reason to keep an eye on your statements, because if you try to report it a month later, they're going to probably say, no, I mean, that's not, you weren't compliant with our terms and reporting fraud. But yes, debit's instant, comes out of your checking. Banks are probably not going to give your money back if it's a withdrawal like that, because it's going to be a he said, she said moment as to whether it was legit. Where a credit card organization, to put that credit card charge through, there's a record somewhere of them registering to be able to pay MasterCard the 3% for every charge or whatever it is. But yes, I would say that. We heard in the other one, Cash can't track it. Cash App is an app that takes cash to digital cash, still not any good. In fact, by the way, I should mention that. So Cash App, I still have this on my floor. Hopefully it'll show up in my background. Cash App is a service. I didn't apply for a Cash App and it showed up. So somebody got enough of my personal information and opened up a Cash App on me. And first thing that I thought, like the lazy hacker, it was addressed to Deep, DEEP, Deep Heart at my home address. I have no idea where that came from, but that was my first sign. It wasn't me, right? So I opened it for fun and hesitated and evaluated and looked at it. But yeah, credit cards would be the safest. If you do Zelle, it's pretty much, wire transfer, Venmo, all that stuff. Credit card is probably the best thing. But it doesn't mean you have to do credit card all the time. If you learn from this and you take your time, you hesitate and evaluate, you research the charity, you make sure you're on Amazon.com and not a knockoff website. And Amazon has some sellers that aren't legit, but Amazon will protect you from that as long as you ordered through Amazon. But yeah, I would say credit cards, if you're going to do anything, that's the safest.
Thanks, Bob. Another question is related to AI. You were talking earlier about AI phishing and AI scams. The question is, are there different kinds of tools like info security awareness training, or is it a blend of strategies the best way to help defend against those types of threats?
There is no silver bullet. Training by itself is not any good. I worked in a national law firm for 25 years, and sorry to any attorneys that may be on this call, but they're the smartest dumb people. They sell time. I'll make excuses for them. They sell time, so they're always in a hurry. They're click happy. You can't just train people. They will forget training. And I try to keep my training to 20-30 minutes. This one went a little longer, but because people get overwhelmed. I've thrown a lot at you even in this one, but you got to have, I always say it's the castle. We say layers of an onion, but that's not really the case anymore, because it's not, they got through the outside layer, then the next layer and the next layer, like in a Mission Impossible thing where they're trying to get into a building. They're different avenues. So it's really a castle with multiple egress points, right? Drawbridges on 6 sides. So you got the moat. Well, that's not good enough. Well, you lift the drawbridge. Okay, that's better. Now you put alligators in the moat. Okay, that's better. Now you got archers up on the wall. That's even better. So it's trying to protect every single open door. I always say, like a physical house. No offense to my girlfriend, but she locks the screen door. I'm like, it's a full body screen. If somebody's going to come in, they're just going to kick through that screen. It's a peace of mind thing. I get it, but it's not good enough. If you're really concerned about security, turning a little latch to lock a screen door, but you have to protect the screen door, then the physical wooden door. Do you have a deadbolt? Do you have that thing in the floor, like in hotels in bad areas, right? Where they put that kick stick on the inside so somebody can't kick your door in. I had a friend had an apartment in Chicago with all these locks because he had high-end music equipment, because he was, burgeoning music guy. They punched through the drywall in the apartment building and reached in and undid the deadbolt and all the other locks. So this is what I mean. Hackers and people with motivation, they will find clever ways to get into digital or physical assets. So it is important to have different things to protect different doors, so emails getting reviewed for spam and links and viruses so it doesn't hit your inbox. Training, endpoint security. We used to call it antivirus, but really now it's endpoint security with AI, because we're looking for behaviors. Ring fencing applications. Why is Word trying to go launch a PowerShell programming script? We call that a ring fence. Word should be doing Word documents, not trying to talk to a PowerShell and talk to the internet behind the door. So it is important to have different things, different facets to protect all these doors, as I call them.
Great. That's the end of our questions. There was one other question, and it's about something that we're about to do actually, which is a raffle giveaway for a gift card to help with your holiday shopping. So Bob, I'll turn that over to you now. We've got the names of all the attendees on there. Bob, you shouldn't be on there, but
Am I in there?
yeah, you got the wrong names on that list. Those are all the ones we were doing during the practice.
Oh,
session.
no, that's just a screenshot. That's my holding.
Yeah, got it. Okay.
As I go get the actual attendees and bring it over.
Yep.
So let me know once it's up.
There it is.
All right, so you can see it. Yeah, you are seeing the live one now, Rich? Okay.
Yes.
There we go. Well, thanks again for participating. That's our winner.
Congratulations, Carly. Hopefully you are looking forward to doing some holiday shopping. You've got an extra $50 to use now. So yes, every one of the attendees were in the drawing. Okay, well, that brings us to the end of today's webinar. So thank you for attending. As a reminder, the session today was being recorded, so we will upload it to our company website in case you want to view it again or share it with any friends or coworkers. Our next webinar is going to be in January. We're not going to be holding one in December. So January 16th, mark it on your calendars. We will be sending out invites and social media posts just like we did for this one. The topic is going to be about, as a company or an organization, setting your goals for 2025 related to technology. So we'll talk about some of the new trends and goals that we're seeing from not just our clients, but from industry news. And as a reminder, Bridgepoint Technologies has more than 20 years of experience now helping improve cybersecurity, IT support, and overall technology strategy for organizations. So feel free to contact us if you want to schedule any additional discussions about any topic related to technology. Thank you, everybody. Hope you have a wonderful rest of the day, and we will see you next time in January.
Thank you, everyone.